Welcome back, and it seems that Florida men and Florida women often have fights, and for some reason, only in Florida, they attack each other with food. We've talked about it on the radio show 100 times. We've seen grits, spaghetti attacks, and now a steak attack. This time, though, Florida woman attacks Florida man with a steak. I don't know what type of steak it is. The steak does not hit Florida man. But is that still a crime? Rajan Joshi joins me, Muna Abraham. Hey guys, how are you?
Good, thank you.
So Florida woman and man intoxicated, of course, because most of these food attacks happen while drunk. Florida woman throws the steak at Florida man, misses. It hits the wall behind Florida man. Is this a crime?
It could be. There's several different offenses. It could be, if it's, out in the public and she's throwing steak around, it could be littering. And let's just say if he sees the steak and he gets scared, it's going to hit him and he, misses, then it could be, a simple assault, which is a misdemeanor. Now, hypothetically, if the guy was in a car and she threw that same steak, the same thing as the simple assault, missed him, but it entered the car, then it becomes a burglary with a battery. And the distinction between that is a second-degree misdemeanor assault is the lowest on the food chain. Burglary with a battery is punishable by up to life. Now the person's looking at, potential prison sentence and even being held with no bond.
Really?
Yes.
Even if you don't hit the person?
Even if you don't hit the person. It's an assault when you don't hit the person and you put him in fear. It's a battery if she took the steak and just whacked him. So.
Wow. It's a big difference. So when it comes to assault versus battery, what can the penalties be different-wise?
The penalties aren't that much. They're both misdemeanors. It depends if you're committing an assault with a deadly weapon like a baseball bat in that situation or a firearm, then the assault becomes aggravated assault, which makes it a felony. Likewise, a battery. If I knock someone over the head with a baseball bat or, hit him over the head with a gun or shoot him, then it becomes an aggravated battery, and then it becomes, a real serious felony where they're looking at prison time.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So, just by definition, what is the difference between an assault and a battery? I think people get those two confused.
So a battery is when it's actually just unwanted touching.
Okay.
So even something as simple as this, where Rajan here didn't say that I was allowed to, he didn't consent to me touching him, that right there is a battery.
And by the way, he did not consent to that.
He did not. So if you wanted to prosecute,
and it's on camera.
Well, technically, she's in my office, and I consent to almost everything she does.
I see. Wow. So you hear a lot about these batteries that happen in houses like this, and you hear about assaults as well. Sometimes you will hear about one being aggravated, like a domestic violence with battery or with touching. What does that mean?
So for it to be aggravated, I know you gave the example of aggravated assault. That could include a firearm or a weapon. And it doesn't need to be a real, knife or a machete. It could be something as simple as a box cutter that you had in your pocket or even a pocket knife in some instances. So that can aggravate it. For batteries, if it's an aggravated battery, it could be because of the injuries, if they're very severe. If you end up sending someone to the hospital, your battery, even if it's a first time, goes from a misdemeanor to a felony.
And even if you didn't intend to, let's just say I'm in a fight and I punched a guy and I hit him in the nose and it breaks his nose, right there, even if I didn't intend to commit a battery, it elevates it to a felony battery. And also, you almost get like one bite at the apple. If I had a prior battery and I got like a slap on the wrist, my second one becomes a felony.
We hear about fights at bars a lot, of course. Everything seems to come back to people boozing, I guess.
Yeah.
But you hear a fight at a bar, and, well, that guy pushed me, so I hit him. How do we determine if you're going to get charged with battery when you hit someone? Maybe they pushed you first. Maybe they hit you first. How do the cops determine who to charge?
A lot of times what happens is they arrest everyone and everybody gets, and then they sort it out. And, if neither person's going to testify, it doesn't go anywhere with these bar fights.
Yeah.
Sometimes one person may be justified in self-defense. Guys are coming at him, and we've talked about self-defense in this show, and, he stands his ground and meets force with force. And then in that case, they would be justified. And in other cases, you just get that thug thug, the drunk guy who goes around beating up people.
Yeah.
And there's, a bar full of drunk witnesses, maybe a video camera. That guy's probably going to be prosecuted.
When officers get called to a bar for a bar fight, they obviously go there first and I guess break things up, make sure everyone's protected. Do they normally break it up and they just get out of Dodge, or do they normally stick around and look at videos and try to figure out who started it, who's at fault?
It depends on the situation. If it's closing time, 2, 3 in the morning, officers are arriving, it's probably a little bit harder to keep everybody there and to find out exactly what happened. Honestly, it's just your luck. Sometimes you have a great officer, they come and they do a thorough investigation. Sometimes they're limited. You've got a huge group and just limited amount of officers, and whether or not they have surveillance and ability to do the investigation, it's difficult. So it's a lot of he said, she said too.
Speaking of great, you guys are great when it comes to criminal defense. It's not just state, federal charges as well. The Joshi law firm is fantastic. You can ask them a question right now or call Rajan directly after the show. It's 321-282-1055. My firm, every criminal case we send to Rajan because we trust him that much. And Rajan, this is a very important time in someone's life. When you're charged with a crime, it could arguably be considered the most important time in your life.
Absolutely. I mean, being charged with a crime can have lifelong repercussions, and you only get one bite at the apple. You can't go back and, get an attorney, they mess up, and then say, hey, I want to go back and try and fix the problem. It's almost impossible at that time. If you're charged with a crime, you've got to take it as the most serious situation in your life and do what you need to do. Hire the best attorney you can, and have faith, because the system does work. It's not a system that people just get arrested and it's over and done with. There are checks and balances, and we try to be that check and balance. We try to keep the police officers accountable. We try and make sure that the prosecutors are held to that standard that they are required by the Constitution. And we know that everyone who is charged with a crime is presumed innocent. And we take that very, very serious in our law firm.
When it comes to burglary versus robbery, you hear both used sometimes interchangeably in TV shows or movies. What are the differences?
So a burglary is when someone enters either your house or your car with the intent to commit a crime inside of it. So when you hear someone say, my house was robbed, it's not necessarily true. It's that their house was burglarized because someone had entered and most likely had stolen something that belonged to them. So that theft was the crime. Them entering without the permission of the homeowner is the burglary.
And the thing is like a lot of people think that a burglary is the guy who breaks into the house with the gloves in the middle of the night. A burglary could be, I could have a friend over and I could say, hey, get out. And now he's in my house without my permission and he says no, and he just knocks over a vase. Now he's committed a crime of criminal mischief. Now that's a burglary right there. So it is not just, breaking, it's not breaking and entering necessarily, it's entering. And, and it's entering with the intent to commit a crime. You don't have to even commit a crime. So hypothetically, let's just say some guy breaks into my house because he wants to drink, a 6-pack of beer. He's in my house, and what he's doing is committing a trespass. He's not committing a burglary at that time because he's not committing a crime. Now, if the guy is under the age and he breaks into my house to drink some beer, now he's committing a crime, and now that's a burglary. And the distinction between trespass and burglary are, day and night. Whereas a robbery is, if I take something from someone with force, like I just go there and I grab Mona's bracelet and push her aside or something like that. Now I've done the taking off a person with force. And if I use a weapon, say, give me your bracelet, now I've committed armed robbery. Oh. Well, not my fingers. This ain't gonna do much.
We live in Florida, obviously. A lot of people have outdoor pools, outdoor kitchens. We have the outdoor lanais. I'm not going into their house. I see they have a nice bar outside, some Jack Daniels, and I'm like, I'm gonna help myself to some Jack Daniels. I'm gonna go into that lanai area and make some cocktails and take the bottle with me. What have I done?
If the pool area is enclosed, you've committed a burglary. If it's fenced in and it's enclosed, then you've committed a burglary. If, on the other hand, it's just open area, an open pool, then you've committed a theft, depending on the amount of the Jack Daniels.
Is that right?
Yes.
What is it? What does theft mean exactly? It's
Unlawful taking.
Okay.
So it could be something that happens, even if I just took something for a couple minutes because I wanted to borrow it without asking for permission, that's a theft.
really.
Yes.
And is that normally a slap on the wrist type of thing? What is a theft?
It depends. So, Rajan explained that if it's a battery, if you've got a battery and then your second one comes around, that's a felony. You have a battery with a prior. If you have a petty theft, even if you stole a piece of candy from 7-Eleven or, your friend's watch, on the third try or your third time getting caught, that's actually a felony because you have 2 prior petty theft convictions.
How do they deal with juveniles? It seems like juveniles under the age of 18 might go to the local 7-Eleven and take things sometimes, candy bars, this or that. If the cops are called and they get charged with something, how does it work if you're under 18?
Well, the system in juvenile is more about rehabilitation than it is about punishment, whereas adult crimes is more about punishment. So if the juvenile doesn't have a bad record, they're going to try and work something to rehabilitate the juvenile.
And is it normally they lock them up at the juvenile detention center, or how are they treated, juveniles?
No, not for something as small as burglary, as a theft. They get more of the slap on the wrist. The parents will likely get involved. There is teen court or pretrial diversion. It's their one opportunity to come in. They'll sit in front of their own peers. We'll find out what they did, and they'll take responsibility. And then their own peers will actually give them the sentence. So it might be write an essay or a letter of apology or pay back what you owe and do community service.
Muna Abraham, Rajan Joshi, as always, what a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Don't throw steak at your man or a woman.
The thing I want to know is a dry aged steak, or like a regular steak, because it should be a bigger crime if you waste a good steak.
I agree. Wagyu beef. We talked about that before. I mean, that
should be a felony.
That should be a felony. I totally agree. Excellent job, guys. Great to see you as always. If you have been charged with a crime, a family member charged with a crime, I assure you that can chase them forever unless you fight it. Here's what we'll do, quick break. When we get back, storm season is here. Your house has been destroyed. Your roof has been destroyed. You file a claim with your homeowner's insurance. They say, oh, it looks like $8,000, but it's going to be $40,000 to fix it. What do you do? It's just ahead. It's Behind the Law.